Yeah, we were moving pretty steady all the time, going from February in through March and April and into May. And a lot of people said you were there just for the cleanup and just mopping up. But as I say, if they were always running away, who was shooting at us? They must have had a pretty good rear guard at times. Stuff not politically correct and that sort of thing, and not supposed to be correct in Army and all, but this is just an aside that I throw back on here. We were in one area and we got a hold of an SS man. It captured him. And he looked rather inoffensive, but SS troops were hated by most of the guys. A lot of them had more combat than I had and had more killed than I had seen. And so this SS man was put in the truck with us, and two of the guys grabbed him, and they had a German newspaper, not a big one, one like you'd see at just a folded over sheet at the, like these throwaway or these scandal sheets they have at the checkouts. And they made him eat that newspaper. He had to eat it piece by piece and swallow it down. And then they took him out of the truck, and captain says, we don't want to take him with us. So they took him back, and you heard a shot, and that was it for him. Now this is an incident I forgot to put in, and that's when we had taken this town, and it had pretty much burning and everything, and at night I was on guard with a machine gun there, looking out of a barn and seeing all the shadows of the flames and everything, and looking down this road. And the next morning I got to go out on that road and build a little foxhole down there with my ammo bearer, who I forgot to mention was Portuguese. He was a tough little guy, Lenny Borges. He was good. But we had this foxhole on the side of the road down there, watching anything for anybody coming. And behind us up the road comes a lady, and she's carrying 2 plates, a German lady, and she had 2 chicken dinners with dumplings on them for us. That's a meal I'll never forget. We stole a lot of stuff from them. I saw kuchen one time on a porch as we were going through a town, grabbed a kuchen, and we went like nobody's business, and we started eating it, and they left all the pits and the cherries. And if we'd see a sausage or something, we'd take that too. One Nazi headquarters we got into in a little apartment house in the basement. They had butter, and they had eggs, and they had creme de menthe and creme de cocoa and all kinds of food, and boy did we have a feast there, because mostly when we were on the run like that we were carrying K-ration or C-ration, which is a story in itself. Well, I'll go back and talk a little bit about this. This isn't after the war, it's during the war, and it's we were forming up on this road to go across the hill into the next town to take the town. And imagine there was a few in there, but I'm sitting behind the platoon. Our platoon is behind me, and I'm sitting on the edge of the road with my feet in the ditch, and the other platoon is ahead of us. And they're forming up, and all of a sudden there's a tremendous explosion right in the middle of that platoon. And it looked like the whole platoon dropped. And somebody yelled, "Mortars!" And of course we're off each to the side of the road, and the medic, who I can't speak enough about, Dadabo, he was a great guy. He went in to see what he could do. And then all of a sudden they said, "Okay, clear, come back." And what had happened, somebody had was forming up and was getting a bazooka ready to fire, and they had tipped the barrel down And when they put the round in the back, somehow or another they didn't clip it in, and somehow or another the safety wasn't on right, and the round slid down and exploded right by the feet of all those men. Now, one fella had the side of his face blown off. Another fella had his foot mangled completely. And one fella, Atomic, who was always, for some reason or another, didn't like my guts. I don't know why, because I'm a likable guy, you know. But he seemed to just take a dislike to me. I asked him once, I said, Atomic, what do you got against me? He says, I just don't like you. So, anyway, he got his. He was sitting by a tree, leaning up against a tree, and a piece of some type of shrapnel or metal went right smack clean through his heart. And I walked by him, and he didn't blink or anything. He was just sitting there with his eyes open and deader than a doornail. And that was just an accident. We lost more men then than we did going into the city, the little town, taking the town. Well, there's a thing about were you scared when you were in. Well, you're mostly scared all the time. That isn't the question. You're wondering what's coming up and all, but you can't think about it steady. But when you get into a fight and you're concentrating on a fight, you don't notice the fear the same until possibly afterwards or something. It's just you're set so on thinking what you're doing and who's ahead and who's on either side of you that you just don't have time to get scared. If you get scared, you're done. That's about all I can say about that. And that isn't saying anybody's a hero or anything. It's because all of you meant to being scared. I was never a hero. I hid my helmet as far in as I could get most of the time. We heard the war was over with Germany. We just felt tremendously relieved, completely relieved. Even though the one explosion that happened in the next town and killed 2 of our guys in ammunition trucks. That was headquarters company. And then some other fella got killed in a hassle at the end there too with the Germans. We were lucky when we faced the anti-tank gun. We didn't get blasted away. But tremendous relief, and we thought we were all going home, but we didn't. We were sent, as I say, to Hammelburg then. Now we were training, as I say, in Hammelburg to go to Japan, and that was to go against Japan proper, which we didn't like the idea much of, but we were still in the Army, so we do what we were told. And then in August came the atomic bomb. And you hear people nowadays saying they're sorry we dropped that bomb and it wouldn't have happened and they wouldn't have lost many. Well, don't kid yourself. We were sure happy they dropped that atomic bomb, both of them. And that was one of the best things that happened as far as we were concerned. And then we said, boy, we're going home now. And so we packed up all our stuff and we got on trucks and wait a minute, we aren't going towards the coast. We're going someplace else. So we ended up in central Austria. Our company headquarters was, I think, called Weyer. Maybe in Germany or Austria they call it Weyer, I don't know. In the center of the Alps, kind of pretty. And our squad was sent to a little town a few kilometers out from Weyer. I don't even know the name of it. Could say Neudorf, but who knows. It had just a few houses and a guest house, and we were stationed in the guest house. And we were set up to do, each one of us did 2 hours guard duty a day on a road, dusty dirt road that came through from our territory through to Russian territory, which was up over the next ridge. Beyond a kind of a no man's land in between. And that was the best duty I ever had overseas. I said it was like a vacation because we had some German Army horses on there, 2 hours guard duty a day. The rest of the time was always our own, and I used to play Daniel Boone, going way up in the mountains, hunting all the time, hunting. And I hunted a lot of deer up there and got them for us to eat to supplement our rations, which weren't bad there. We had a big barrel of beer set out for us all the time. Sometimes we drank that in the morning instead of coffee, you know. And then they'd bring in pancakes. They'd have chocolate pancakes, lemon pancakes, and things that they would bring in. And I've had a glass of beer and pancakes for breakfast already, but none of us got inebriated on any of this stuff. It was probably 3.2 or something, and we didn't overdo it anyway. But I had a lot of fun in the mountains there and killed a lot of deer. And the deer, the people at the guest house, Mama and Papa Kronsteiner there, would fix us up meals out of it. We'd have schnitzel made out of the steaks from the deer, things like that, and set up with, German potato salad, of course, and pickled beets and the whole works. It was fun. I had fun there in that place. Our sergeant had a relaxing time. One sergeant that we had was from the south, and he and another sergeant, I don't know where they managed to get it. Well, yeah, we did. We get liquor rations every once in a while. And they got schnobbled on the liquor rations, and they went into, on 2 of the horses, went in and shot up the town of Wire. He lost his stripes for that, but otherwise he didn't shoot anybody. He was just shooting signs and things. Lost some stripes for that, but that's about all that happened. But that was a beautiful little valley we were set in. The people were nice. We were there at Christmas time. And ahead of time, before Christmas, we all saved our PX rations of cigarettes and cigars and chocolate, the different kinds of candy that we could get and things. And Sergeant got himself some kind of a Santa Claus uniform, whatever they have over there for Santa Claus, and he dressed up as Santa Claus on Christmas Eve. We invited all the kids from the village, which weren't many, and all the grown-ups there, and we gave out presents of chocolate and everything, and they sang German Christmas, or Austrian and German Christmas carols. It was a Christmas that I remember most in my life, and had a real tree inside with the candles on it in there. It was good. Had an incident. Every so often we'd have to go up and chase away the Russians from the district Bauer was up in the no man's land. District farmer. He was quite a big farmer. Had 2 daughters that were nice, but they both had boyfriends, so they didn't interest us much. But they had a beautiful singing voice, and we'd go up there to visit, and they'd bring out the cheese and the must, which is hard cider, and sometimes schnapps. And then they'd have the sing fest where they'd play the zither and sing and yodel and all. It was really beautiful. Other times we had to go up there. One of the displaced persons who was working for the farmer would come running down, "Ruskies come, Ruskies come, Ruskies come." So the Russians that were stationed on the other side of the ridge, they'd come over and they'd try to get whiskey or schnapps rather, and anything else they could find from the people. And we'd hop on our horses, 2 of us would, go up there like the cavalry coming to the rescue and chase the Russians out. One day I go up there with Bob Davis, and I got the old slow nag. It was huffing and puffing, and finally it got up to where I could hear what was going on, and I heard shots. Bam, 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 bam. I ride up, and there's Bob. He's like blowing into the end of his gun like the old West did. "That Russian ain't coming back." I said, "What, you didn't kill him?" "No," he says, "I just peppered all around him to chase him away." One time we got up there, and there was There was about 4 of them there with these little Russian Tommy guns. And I had come up, I only had my hunting knife on me, and I forget who was, I think Davis was with me then too. And he had a Garand with him, so I said, well, I'm protected. And I walked up, and they're giving a hard time to the people there, and the farmer and everything, the Russians are, you know. And one DP, he gets brave because we're with him, you know, and he walks up to the guy and he starts giving him the hassle. And the Russian swings the gun around, sticks it right in his stomach. And I, foolish, I wasn't brave or anything, I just didn't think. I walked up, knocked the gun aside, you know, he could have shot me. He wasn't even thinking, you know. I says, look, I says, you're all under arrest. There's 2 of us, they all got Tommy guns, or not Tommy guns, but automatic weapons. And I'm there with a hunting knife on my side, and Davis has got the Garand. They laughed, oh, ho, 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 okay, because they could understand English. The one did, okay, bye, and they went, you know. And I'm riding back with Bob, and he says, what did you think of knocking that gun away? I said, I didn't think, I just walked up and did it. I said, you got the Garand there. He says, Ben, I didn't have any ammo with me. Oh, I said, we had to go up and try to identify them. They got the captain. We sent the report back to the captain, and he come up on the Jeep, and he says, well, let's ride over, you and Bob will go over there and see. So we drove over and over the ridge and down into their camp. And I'll tell you, that was the wildest looking camp. They looked like all Mongolians, you know, and they had bottles all over the place. And they were shooting around and everything, and the one guy I happened to see, he had a necked cartridge that he was shooting in a gun that wasn't for a neck cartridge, and expanding the cartridges. But I'll tell you, when that officer spoke to him, they all, right in line, right up and everything, they said, you guys now identify who it was. Well, they all looked alike to us, and I wouldn't have told on them anyway, you know. So I'm walking forth, back and forth. I said, I can't spot him. Bob says, I can't either. I winked at one guy that I thought was, you know. And so then we're going to go, and the Russian officer there says, oh, no, stay, schnapps, vodka. No, we can't do that. We got to get going. So we went back, but that was something. That was a wild camp. It looked like politically correct, it looked like a wild Indian camp in those days, you know, way back. Yeah, so I enjoyed my stay there. It was like a rest after the other stuff that we went through. But from there, we were told to get on trucks again after being there about 6 months. Maybe, not quite, probably. We got on trucks and we said, oh boy, we're going home. Well, we got as far as Passau, Germany, and I was put with the military police there in Passau, Germany. On railway military police, our outfit was. And that was the hardest job I had outside of combat. It seemed like nothing. I mean, you see a military policeman riding around in a Jeep or something. We had to guard the trains going from Passau to Linz, Austria, because Passau's right on the border there. It's a Dreifluss town, Three Rivers town. 3 rivers come together there, the Danube, which, by the way, isn't blue. It's coffee colored there, without much cream in it, too. But we would take the train. Well, they'd wake us up any time of the night or day, and we'd get out like maybe 2 in the morning. I'd come out and we'd have to check. Being train commander, I was corporal then, and we'd have to check all the seals on the boxcars because they were looting at times there and that sort of thing. And then people were trying to get across the border to escape Nazis and stuff like that, would try to get under the trains and stuff. So we'd go and we'd check all the every one of the seals and all. And then get ready to go on the train, and the train would pull out, and then we'd stop at the Inns River crossing. And then they'd examine all the trains underneath to make sure nobody was going across into Austria. Then we'd get across there, and every time we stopped, got a hot box or something, we'd have to get out and guard the train all on either side to make sure nobody was monkeying around with it or anything. And it was interesting, but it was tedious. You'd get down to Linz, you'd turn around, you'd come back. You'd pick up another train, you'd turn around, and you'd go out. Maybe you'd get to sleep on the train, but most of the time we were riding with the engineer and the fireman. And how much room have you got in those little engines, you know? Sometimes there was an empty boxcar we could sit in and dangle our feet and watch the countryside, but it was slow because it's not far, but it would take us a long time to go. Because any time a special train would come by, they'd have to pull it on the siding. So I wasn't getting much sleep there at all. And the one time, I just got back after one of the tours, and I says, well, I'll wash up. And they were having a party down in the hotel dining room there. And I said, well, I'll go down for a little while. Maybe I can get a hold of Margaret Lodi, who was a friend of mine over there. And we'll spend some time at that, and then I'll go up and get some sleep. Got down to the party, and I'm sitting there. I had one little small brandy or something, and Lodi's there and all. And I see the guy that's supposed to take the next train out after I'm half dead, and he's there, and he is really putting them down, you know. I walked over to him, I said, hey, I says, watch yourself. I says, you got to take that train out, and the next train, and if I got to take it out, I'm going to talk to you about it. And don't worry, I'll be fine. So, come to where I wanted to go upstairs and finally get some shut-eye, and I'm walking up, and this guy is like this. And I walked over to him, and I grabbed him by the front, and I felt somebody grab me by the shoulder and spin me around up against the wall. No bend. He can't say anything to me. The Sarge grabbed him. Boom! 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 And that guy just went, slid right down on the floor. And he looked at the guy, he says, now you say anything about that to anybody. So I had to take the train out that night, and no sleep or anything, you know. And from Passau, and a few little minor adventures in Passau, then finally one day they said, well, you're moving out. And I didn't like leaving Lodi much, but I figured I'd make contact with her later by mail and that sort of thing. And then we went up to Bremerhaven, Germany, where we waited to get on the boats returning us home there. And one thing I can remember about Bremerhaven, it was in the summer, in July, hot, but I went up on the dike there in the river by Bremerhaven, laid out on the dike about all afternoon one time, and walked back down into the barracks, and the guy looked at me and he says, holy mackerel, are you going to hurt tonight? I was beat red all over practically. So I said, okay. I got out Army burn ointment and I smeared myself all up with that, and I was fine except for peeling for about the next 2 months. I was peeling. But I remember Bremerhaven too, when you went to get your mess there, the eats, why you'd come out with your kit and there'd be bees all over everything you were eating. You had to shove them all off. Nobody got bit that I know of, but they were all over the place. Then we got on our ship there to come home, which we were glad to do, and I thought, boy, I'm going to be seasick the whole way. but it was the Mahanoy City Victory, I think they call it, a victory ship. And the ocean was like glass almost all the way back. It didn't bother me at all. Yeah, we got back and got to the, I can't remember which camp we were at, but I know I had to do KP duty, latrine duty on the ship coming back, and I started to clean up with the rest of the guys and feeling like I was almost a civilian now, and an officer come by, he says, "What are you doing the work? Tell them what to do, you're a corporal." I didn't feel much like a corporal. And then we got in, and the only duty I can remember before we got released was doing KP one night, and that was when all the bakery trucks came in. We got to unload the bakery trucks and eat as much as we could on this stuff. But they gave us our orientation and talking to us about what we wanted to do after the war and that sort of thing, and then put us on the train with a little pay, and we got home, and I got home in the middle of the night on the New York Central, I guess it was. Walked up to the house. My folks were living on Carmel Road then in Buffalo, and there was a big banner over the top saying, "Welcome home, Bill." So that's as much as I can remember on that. A lot of stuff I forgot. A lot of stuff I didn't say. And some stuff purposely, and some stuff just from old age I forgot. That's all. The combat outfit was private first class, and it was the 101st Infantry of the 26th Division, and let me think, yeah, 101st Infantry, yeah, and that's about it, I guess.